Welcome, everybody. It's great to see 30 of you on here today, give or take. Okay, I'm seeing the questions start to come in. All right. So let's start with Jen. Hi, Jen. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you here so we can chat. So Jen's question is, can you please check out my benefit statement? I help entrepreneurial women to sell online services to overcome burnout and loneliness and achieve financial independence with masterminds. So are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Jen. How you doing?
So much.
Thanks for being on here. And I actually like this. This is pretty well thought out. You know, I might cut a few words just to make it even punchier. And then I would add the statement at the end. Would that be of value to you or not?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So pretend you're having a conversation with this person and they meet you at a party and they're like, oh, so what do you do? So you're like, okay, I help entrepreneurial women such as yourself. I know you have a business or whatever the chat of the day is, who sell online services, overcome burnout and loneliness, and achieve financial independence with masterminds. So I might lead with the thing they want as well, because that's gonna trigger them to be like, oh, that's me, right? So I'm an entrepreneurial woman. I want to sell online services, or I do sell online services, and I want to achieve financial independence. And I might get even more specific on what that means. Is that adding 5 figures to my business, 6 figures to my business, 7 figures to my business? Or is it maybe not a revenue thing? Maybe it's like a systematization and really getting clear on like, how we do things, SOPs, who we hire, how they do their job. Like what piece of the business are they struggling with most? Because your solution is going to be teed up for that person to be like, yes, that's going to be valuable to me. And then you get to continue the conversation. This becomes your beacon in the world where whenever you say this, people are like, yeah, that's me. Let's talk more about that. Or no, that's not me at all. Or maybe I know somebody who's that person and it's not me. And then you could be like, well, I give you a referral fee, right? I'm happy to pay you a referral fee if we get a client for somebody you introduce. So this is great. I would just keep refining it. Like what's the clearest way you could do it? Start with who they are as clear as possible. Then what they want, what's their desire without the, burnout and struggle and loneliness and these things, because different people respond to different words.
Yeah.
And then finally, what's the vehicle through which you're going to do that? And that's masterminds. Simple as that. I gave you an easy one on it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super helpful. Thanks.
Great. Do you have any other questions for now?
I actually was writing some down, but I can't remember what they are. So I'll come back and
we're here for 30, 40 minutes, however long we need to be. We kind of ended early today on the content, so people had time to work on it.
Awesome.
Thank you. This is great having you, and thanks for being here, and keep coming back and asking more questions. We'll get through this.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course, Jen. My pleasure. David says, thank you and great job today, Brad. I appreciate it. Thank you, David. And thanks for bearing with us yesterday. You joined a little late and you missed the link, so I'm glad we got that to you. The link to the Facebook group, Lisa, I'm going to put in the chat right now, is, it should be facebook.com/groups. Hold on, let me just type it out for you. Facebook.com/groups/get your first mastermind client. And there it is. All right. Oh, I had to put that in panelists and attendees. That's my bad. Technology. All right. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and mute Jen. And then we're going to bring on David. Do you want to chat? Let's get him on here. Let's see. Hello, David.
Hello, Brother Brad. Good
How
to
are
be
you,
with you. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So you're debating accountability or professional development. So what is the easiest, most lucrative, and most fun?
I like the accountability. I think a lot of high-performing business owners, just having someone that they trust that can give them strategy and hold them accountable on how they're doing as a leader of their family. It lends itself to that.
And then if we could get really specific on who these people are and what they want, that would really be like the next level, right? So we get a benefit statement of like, I'm just going to throw one out there. Like I help 7-figure CEOs who, have organizational challenges, become a better leader through mastermind groups or something of that ilk, like just as specific and on the nose as possible. So when you say this out loud or somebody said it to you, you'd be like, yeah, that's me, or nope, that's not me, or I know somebody like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wrote 4 different questions
Cool.
instead of doing it all as one big one. But pretty much it's like guys who have a succession plan but realize, hey, my relationship with my kids are strained and or my kids are fighting over the business, and this is not going to end well unless I upgrade my strategy.
Totally. Totally. And then just get that into 35 words or less. That would be ideal, where it just flows and you can ask at the end, would that be of value to you or not? And so when you're having a conversation with one of those people, they can self-select, and then you don't waste time because you're not talking to people who are unqualified, not interested, or not excited about what you have to offer. And you're only now talking to
Mm-hmm.
people who are qualified, are interested and excited. And then you can move them forward to a sales conversation.
Yeah, what I've experienced is doing a benefit driven one has created a little confusion. Like, I'll give you an example. Right now it's like, hey, I help 7-figure business owners wield King Solomon's trillionaire wisdom to create, you know, a plan for success for their family for 5 to 7 generations.
Sure.
A lot of guys are like, oh, that sounds cool, but it's like, it's not. I think what's missing is it's not hitting a pain point enough.
Sure. Because we're
It's just
talking
not.
about the solution, and we're talking about something that's worked for you, but maybe they're not sold on that solution. Maybe they need more information about who King Solomon was. Maybe they, don't feel like they have a problem specifically that you're addressing in that statement. So what does
Mhm.
that solve, right? What are the
Yeah, that's
things
right.
that show
I
up
think I need
that
to.
the before and after, right? Exactly.
That's why I think I need to shift it to talk about avoid the 95% failure rate of their peers
I like
following
that.
traditional estate and planning, succession and estate planning alone.
Yes. What's the most painful thing they're experiencing right now that you can highlight? And then they'll listen to you about the solution because now you're speaking to their pain. Now you understand them. Now they feel heard and seen and understood from
Hmm.
somebody who just a minute ago is just some guy talking about King Solomon. What the hell is he talking about?
Hmm.
Fair
Yeah, I
enough.
thought about even leading with the question like, hey, would you like to, if you knew you were going to have a 95% failure rate of your family because of your success, despite the best estate and succession plans, how soon would you want to fix that? Like, that's a real pain driven, if there was a, so if you're about to get hit by a car, would you want someone to warn you or not? That kind of a thing, like make it more present and
Yeah, and
immediate.
it
Just
doesn't have to
that's
be
my
so
thought of.
heavy-handed either, right? It doesn't have to be like, of course, like if I told you were going to get cancer tomorrow, would you want the cure to cancer? Of course I would. Like, it doesn't really speak to that yet. You got to really
Hmm.
tailor this to be like, hey, man, you know, I know you're wealthy and successful. What I know is that 95% of those people, their families are all jacked up. Like the next generation is a total disaster, even though you have your act together. Would you like to know how I solve this for people? I know how to fix
Hmm.
this. I can help you fix this. Let's have a conversation. And when you come from that place, from that authentic, vulnerable place, without all the buzzwords, without all the marketing, you just speak to them human to human, then they'll have a
Hmm.
conversation. They'll listen. Especially when you
Yeah.
provide examples of how you've done this for other people like them that they can relate to. That's where testimonials and great stories come in.
Yeah, I like saying it that way because it's sort of like everyone wants to sort of like the Dean Kennedy, my business is different. It's like, oh, my family is going to be the 5%. So
Totally.
making it personal and sharing my own personal journey and other people I know's journey, that's like, the more of something they can relate to in that story, then the better.
Yeah, and
They'll be
it's a
like, oh,
sad
well.
thing because these people may not understand there's a problem until it's too late to do anything about it. So having a lot of
Hmm.
stories in your back pocket that illustrate that, this person thought they had figured out, and 20 years went by, and 25 years went by, and all of a sudden their kids aren't talking to them, and everything that they worked for is worth nothing. They end up dying alone with just a pile of money.
Hmm.
Oh snap! you know?
Yeah, they don't want that. It's
Yeah,
almost like there can be 3 different stories of 3 people I know with 3 main challenges in their families,
sure.
and tell those stories and just see which one gets the fastest engagement,
That's right.
leading to a sales conversation.
That's right. That's perfect. Do you feel good for now? You got enough to noodle on?
I do feel good, yeah.
Okay,
So
right
in
on.
terms of the structure of a group, I mean, let's just say you are. I know you don't have kids yet, but let's say it's 20 years from now. You have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, and like I don't know what I don't know what resonates with you. Would you, at that place in your life, you're doing great professionally, would an accountability group, or like, hey, I want some other guys to walk this journey with and help me improve, resonate with you more? Or would like, hey, I don't want to admit I'm broken. I'd rather just go in this, develop in this area? Which of those would you think would appeal to you more?
It's hard to say. However, I've known a lot of people in that situation that have kids that like go talk, and they kind of fall into two camps, right? There's one camp that's like, I'm awesome and I did everything I was supposed to do, and my kids are just not grateful and whatever. Like I tried, right? That's one camp. Like they're not taking personal responsibility, or it's not enough of a desire welling inside them to be like, I want to make a change, or it's not painful enough for them to make a change. That's one camp. Camp two is like, I feel hopeless. It sucks that my kids don't talk to me, or it sucks that, my legacy is not secured. But I don't really know what to do. I feel like you're going to have more luck breaking through to the people in the latter category than in the former category. But you can also break through to the people in the former category by asking what I call the two truths question, which is, well, I hear everything's going great and it sounds like you got it all figured out. But let me ask you, like, if there's one thing you could wave a magic wand and just solve, what would that be? And then you allow that, then they'll be like, oh, well, I'd really love for my kids to want to take up what I've done, or care about it the same way I did. Oh man. Yeah, that must be really painful. Tell me more about that. And then you're in there. Like the ego kind of drops away a little bit.
Yeah, that's a cool way to do it for camp number one.
Yep.
Thank you for that, brother. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Absolutely. All right. Cranking along. Thank you, David.
Certainly, sir.
All right, Angie. After offering to my warm market and they don't decide right away, what is an effective follow-up guide to get them to decide? Okay, let's talk about that. Angie. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Brad. Thank you.
Hi, Angie. How you doing?
Good, good.
Good. So the follow-up strategy. So just some science to kind of start with, like some facts and figures. I've heard that anywhere from, especially nowadays where there's so many offers, so many marketing messages that people observe, and they have like an 8-second attention span, which is about, 25% of what a goldfish has. You just need to keep following up, right? And that's the first main principle. It can take 7 to 15 follow-ups. And that doesn't have to be all personal, right? That could be they're getting an email, that could be they're getting text messages and being part of a larger marketing campaign. Like I can, not to call anybody out individually, but I know there are multiple people here who have considered working with us. Some of them, have like gone all the way to a sales call and they're there to make the decision and it just didn't quite go for whatever reason at the time. It has nothing to do with us or our offer. They want it. But now with this challenge, they're going to come through and be like, yeah, now I'm ready. Right. And that's just why we do these, right? We make it irresistible to work with us for free or for very cheap, to just show what we got and give you the goods and get you an experience of what it is to work with me using technology and leverage. And then all of a sudden they're ready to have a more, serious conversation about investing and about working with us for the long term, because there's so many people out there wanting to do and serve those people that you want to do and serve. So your values have to show up consistently again and again. You have to show up as the person, the leader, the authentic. I made up a new word, guys. Authentic leader that needs to show up consistently so that they can build the trust, because trust is really about making commitments and being consistent. If you want to build trust with people, not that they just like you, not that they just know you, but if you really want to build trust in relationships, you have to show up again and again and again, as you say you're going to show up based on your values, and act in a way that they feel it's not like, you have to be like them. That's not the point. It's that you have to be as you as possible consistently and show up unabashedly and unflinchingly until they say, no, don't follow up with me anymore. That's the only reason you ever stop. There's an old saying on Wall Street, you follow up until they buy or they die. And that's not supposed to be like we're super aggressive and pushy. It's just, we're going to consistently nudge you until you either tell us no, never in a million years, lose my number, or yes, we're going to work together.
It's like once a week to follow up.
Yeah, not to be annoying, but like so there's passive follow-up and there's active follow-up. Active follow-up, I'd say once every couple of weeks is more than enough.
Okay.
Because people are busy. There's different stuff going on. Sometimes it's just not a priority and you're going to turn them off by like hitting them up every day, right? It's too much.
Right.
Sometimes people, they just had a kid. Sometimes people, they just, their mom got sick or they got COVID, or there's a million things that could be happening that have nothing to do with you. So every couple of weeks, perfectly fine. But if it's like, passive, we send emails 3 times a week. We send text messages and pushes pretty often, especially when people are actively in a marketing sequence and have shown interest in a specific thing. And they can always unsubscribe, but they get as much as they want at that point.
I have another question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I know that you provided a free mastermind at your house. What was the reason that you did it for free?
So the reason I did it for free was because I wanted to just do it. I wanted to consistently have something that brought people together and helped them and grew my influence and impact in my local geographic area with the local entrepreneurs, investors, and people that understood, you know, hey, this is something valuable that I do for a professional, you know, for money. And he's doing it just because he wants to give back to his community and build a relationship based on that. And I've met people that would have never bought my mastermind, but now we have these incredible relationships and we travel together and we do deals together and we you know, have incredible upside as a function of being in each other's lives, which never would have started if had that not happened. Like, I'll just give a quick example, just because it's right on top of my mind. But Micah is one of the people that works for our company, and his father met me through one of the masterminds. Actually, we met at Burning Man, and then we got to know each other when he came to one of my masterminds. It's like, oh, you live close? Yeah, come to this mastermind. So anytime now people are like, hey, let's meet up for coffee. Hey, let's, you know, hang out and get lunch. Like, you get busy enough, there's no way you're going to do all that. Now with this mastermind, I can interact with 20, 25, 30 people a week in an hour or two, and it's no longer, you know, all my time taken up. So it's another way to get leverage in my life.
That's great. I actually called, I met her like a few weeks ago and I called her. I want to start a mastermind. Would you like to join our mastermind group? She's a psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, and I have another friend. She's an emotion code practitioner. She's also interested. So we're gonna start one soon.
Yeah, it's a perfectly acceptable way to start, you know, to get your bearings and get your feet under you. You know, I've been doing this a long time, so you know, it's a little bit easier for me. But when you're first starting out, it's a little scary to run a group of 15 people, you know, that you don't really know that well, you don't have relationships with. So I have recordings on that as well. You can check out. We give them away as like part of the bonus package with my book.
Yeah, I
You
listened
grab
to
those?
one of
Okay,
them.
cool. So yeah, that's just a good way to start and like get a sense of the cadence, and then from there you can kind of make it your own.
Okay. Also one more, Brad, if I can. I started this optimize your wellness and finances for 40-year-old and above to prepare for retirement
Great.
with healthy body and finances.
I
Should
love that
I
niche.
focus on one niche, health, or is it okay to combine health and finances?
It's okay, but it's going to be more powerful if you pick one. And here's why. Is because when you plant your flag in the ground, and this is what happened when I decided I'm the mastermind guy, people have now categorized you as one thing, which is helpful. It's not because they want to like limit you and who you are and all the things you can do, but if they don't know how to introduce you or they don't know how to talk about you, then it's really difficult for them to like be like, oh yeah, go talk to Angie because you know she's the person that helps this type of person do this type of thing, as opposed to, oh yeah, she could help you with all these other things. It's like confused people don't buy things. They want to go to who's the best for this thing. So when people say, hey, I want to start a mastermind, and if they know who I am and they've seen my work, they say, go talk to Brad Hart. And that's the power of that. And then, you know, because you see like Tony Robbins, you see these big coaches and consultants that are like, yeah, I help with health, I help with wealth, I help with relationships, but they started out with one thing and then expanded over time because they needed to get that first groundswell. They need to get that first successful path off the ground. You know, Tony Robbins started out as the phobia guy. He would use NLP techniques to solve phobias that no other psychologist could fix. That was his whole thing. And he did that for a while and he got famous doing that. And then he got to leverage all these other things that he knew how to do or was learning how to do to a greater and greater effect. And now he can help people in almost every area of his life, of their life.
Great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, start small to go big. Divide and conquer is what that strategy is called. I learned it from a mentor of mine and it's been very, very helpful. I've seen it in multiple different iterations. Start with the thing that you know you can dominate and go from there.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Let's see. So, Lisa, I need a little bit more work, but so far I'm a combination between accountability and personal mastermind development. Business owners who started their own business with the best intention, but have gotten bogged down by the culture they have inadvertently created and need impartial support. Any feedback welcome. Well, let's jump on and talk about this. All right, Lisa. Hello, Lisa.
Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, hello.
Hi. Okay. I am authentic. I like this new word, Brad. Okay, cool. Sorry, squirreling out here. So I like where you're going with this. Let's get this even clearer. So what communities do you belong to? So like this reminds me kind of like the business mastery community. Tony Robbins, right? There's the 5-day business mastery where he talks about, there's people who are infants, toddlers, teenagers, and what stage of their business they're at, and then what problems they face as a result of being at that stage. Like, okay, you don't have any cash, so it's all about cash flow. Okay, now you have some cash, but you don't have any systems, so it's about systems. Okay, now you have a team that's running things, but you're not a great leader, so you have to be leadership, right? It's like all these different bits that go along with this. So if you could like call these people out in the language that they understand as to where they're at, that would be huge. So you might want to do some thinking around that. Business owners started their own business, the best intention, but got bogged down by the culture and have inadvertently created a need impartial support. So really, when I cut through this and I think about this, like what would I buy? I would buy somebody who's like a leadership coach.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I'm driving at.
Right? Like this is a leadership mastermind. So if you're a business owner who needs to figure out the culture piece because you're experiencing this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, or this problem, this is the place for you. We're going to learn about leadership. We're going to learn about how we create a culture. We're going to learn about, building it from the ground up. I'm going to bring in Tony Hsieh at Zappos. I'm going to bring in, pick 8 experts, whatever, right? Like you're going to bring in all these incredible experts who have built incredible cultures, and here's the key part, because you're going to be like, Tony Hsieh, holy crap, he's huge, right? He's a billionaire. What about the people he's trained? They're all around, right? There's tons of people that have worked at Zappos that you can find that have worked in that kind of environment. And you can go on LinkedIn and find any one of them. So you start with like, who's the famous one? And then who can I get to? You could try to talk to Tony Hsieh. He might even say, yes, I've met him. He's a great guy. I saw him at Life is Beautiful in Vegas. So, you could get to him, or maybe you talk to my friend Robbie Richmond, who's an international speaker and world renowned. He's got books of his own, but he's way more accessible than Tony. And he worked with Tony. He worked with Tony Hsieh about culture and corporate culture for years. So this is one of the things I do with my clients all the time. Is like, what's your dream person? And then who's enough like them, but not so well known that they're never going to give you the time of day.
I love that. Totally get it. Because I've thought, I'm too small fry to get the big boys on board.
But you start with that and then you work down. And then the crazy thing that happens is once you get established in the niche, you end up working with those people anyway. Like me working with Tony Robbins was a dream. And then slowly but surely I got closer and closer. And now all of a sudden I'm working with freaking Tony Robbins. That's awesome. I'm a speaker and a trainer and a top affiliate for him. And like, it didn't start there, but that's where I ended up.
You've absolutely hit the nail on the head, and I'm so pleased you said that. This is about, I've been a business consultant for, too many years, working for other people. But the big issue I come across is business owners, whether the first or second generation, who are working around the problems they've got because of the people who started their business with them. So-and-so's been with me 20 years. Between you and me, Lisa, they're absolutely crap, but I've moved them sideways. I brought somebody else in, and then when I sit in my management meeting, I can't say anything because I'm upsetting everybody, and they've completely lost the plot because they're looking inward all the time. And what I want to do is to bring the leaders together so they've got an impartial management team, so they'll hear different perspectives from different businesses who've been through the same thing, but not heard it from somebody else that's actually gone through it. And that's what I'm trying to say, but I don't know how to
break them out of their bubble and just get it as simple and clear as possible. And then let them opt in. Like, let them ask you questions and continue the conversation.
Okay.
Right. So your benefit statement should be 35 words or less and end with the statement, would that be of value to you or not? That's your invitation to begin the conversation of a sales conversation, or not, and move on to somebody who isn't. And you can always ask follow-up questions too. If that's not you, do you know anybody like that? I'd love to meet them, and I'd be happy to pay you a referral fee. Every opportunity, you can be way more interesting at parties by asking like 2 questions. Ready? What are you excited about? What are you grateful for? And if they don't love you by then you can go into your value prop and say, do you know anybody like that? Like when I ask for money, I ask for advice.
Okay.
So if you ask for advice, you win twice. When you go to somebody, you ask for advice, not only do you get the advice, but then they might raise their hand because they don't feel on the spot and they're pressured. So I don't go to somebody and be like, hey, you want to invest in my deal? I say, hey, do you know I'm working on this deal. Do you know anybody who'd be a fit for this?
Got you.
And then they get to say, oh, well, I'd be interested, or no, I don't know anybody, or yeah, I might have an idea.
Oh my God, I'm going to have to listen to this again to get that down that quick. I've got what you mean. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. So just these things that we build up in our heads to be so complex, you can really make them simple and consistent and easy and fun and lucrative if you know what you're doing. And that's what I'm here to teach.
God, that was spot on. Thank you very much.
My welcome.
Cheers.
My pleasure, Lisa. I
Bye-bye.
hope everybody got a lot out of that, and we'll keep going along here. All righty.
Thank you.
All right. So we got Rowena. Hi, Brad. Thanks. I help unhappy and burnout employed people who want to get out of boring employment with fear of starting their own business through directing them to different opportunities to earn. Okay, let's get this even clearer. So let's have you hop on here. Rowena, 1 second. This is good. I'm glad we left extra time for a Q&A today. We got quite a few more to go through. I see you, Joel. I see you, some other people in the chat too. We'll get to those just after. So Rowena, so I help employed people. So that's the first thing, right? So employees who are unhappy and burned out to get out of that situation and build their own business through the power of mastermind.
Oh, hi. Good morning, Brad.
Hi, Rowena.
Hi.
Does that sound a little clearer?
That's simpler.
Yeah, and I would write that on a document and then just like, how many words can I take away?
Yeah.
That's the simplest way. And then just go back to the format, look at the format. Okay, did I hit? Who is it for? What's their problem or desire? And then finally, what's my vehicle? And I gave you the easy one, which is mastermind in this case.
Mhm. So you don't have to be specific for the kind of mastermind in that case.
Not especially. No, I think that this is a shot across the bow. This is a 35-word statement. This is followed by, would that be valuable to you or not? And if somebody's glazed over and not interested, like if you've ever been to a party and you're telling your story and you can tell people are checking out or looking around, seeing who else they know at the party, and they're like looking for a way to politely excuse themselves from the conversation, that's not your people. But when you can say this statement in 30 words or less, 35 words or less, and then they're hooked, now you got something. You know that's your person. It's worth following up with. But if you're just trying to talk to everybody and you don't have a way to like filter people by saying this statement, followed by, would that be of value to you or not, so they can opt in to a longer conversation, then you're going to stress out and waste a lot of time.
Okay.
And this can be, by the way, I'm talking about just in the personal world. I get we're in COVID. I get we're trying to use social media and all this stuff, but these are very specific skill sets that you start out by with using one-on-one that you can then use in a one-to-many context. Right. So now when you're posting on Facebook, you can follow up with conversations with these types of statements. Or you can make that part of the post that you're ultimately posting so that people can opt in and raise their hand and say, I want to talk more about this. But as long as, if you're not clear, they're not going to be clear and they're going to get confused and they're going to squirrel out on the next thing that interrupts them.
Okay.
Sound good?
Thanks.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Who's next? We got... Hi, Andrew. Okay, so I was thinking about a CDO, Chief Data Officer Mastermind, to appeal to senior leaders. I'm going to move this down so I can see it better. All right. To appeal to senior leaders with organizations who own data for their businesses. Benefit statement: we help chief data officers become the best version of themselves by learning from their peers across the world and working out how to create huge value for their business. Oh, I like it. It's close. Let's talk about it, and we'll see if we can get it even a little tighter. Andrew, where are you? Okay. Oh, are you not on anymore? That's a bummer. Okay, Andrew. Well, hopefully you get to watch the recording. I would say if I had to take a stab at this, again, I usually like to sit like by myself and work on these on a document and like kind of move them around a little bit and then test it out with people. So this is an ongoing thing. And that's true for everybody, right? Once you got it as good as you can make it in a vacuum, then go out and test it with people. Is this clear? Is this clear? Is this clear? Do it in the Facebook group, talk to people and see how it gets clearer. So we help chief data officers become the best version of themselves by learning from their peers across the world and working out. So there's not a clear problem. What are these chief data officers experiencing that they don't want so that you can give them what they do want? That would be it. So you got to pair that desire with what they don't want and what they do want. And that's actually good because I wasn't as clear about that as I could have been with the video. So maybe the solution to that is to go live after this Q&A and talk about that just for 5 minutes on another live, as a little addendum part 2 that people can get even clearer on. That's great. Thank you for that question, Andrew. Sorry you had to jump off. Hopefully you get to check out the recording. Okay. And then we have David. Okay. Niche is male, Christian, Jewish, biz owners in their 50s and 60s that have strained relationships with their kids, realizing having a succession plan alone isn't going to solve it, and want to use God's wisdom taught by King Solomon to pass on their values strategically. So getting closer. The one thing that I would hesitate to include in this statement is the, King Solomon piece, because here's the thing. It's like, I'm not sold on that yet. I just met you. I don't know you. Maybe I'm religious. Maybe I'm not. Maybe you're self-selecting for that with the Christian/Jewish business owners, but I'm Catholic. I'm Christian, right? But I don't necessarily, I'm not going to just, out of the blue be like, yeah, I'm going to talk about that. So maybe you have to warm that up a little bit with a little bit more of a, a problem benefit solution. Or you could call it ancient principles. You can call it, how else might you frame this? Biblical wisdom. That could be a hot button. Like, I meet a ton of people that are like, yeah, I'm happy to identify myself as somebody who's into the Bible, or I go to Bible study. That could be a really solid niche. But again, don't just take my word for it. Test this out on people in your niche and make sure that it really resonates with them. So if they're raising their hand consistently and you're nailing it, that's awesome. So I wouldn't even stress if that's the case. And yeah, it lends itself to a lot of accountability. I would agree with that. Yeah. All right. So Lisa, I help functional medicine providers make business easy, lucrative, and fun by leveraging the power of the group. It's getting better. What's the biggest problem? The biggest problem that they are experiencing. All right. Bilal. I help employees eager to start their business but lack the clarity of how to progress, which makes them afraid to leave their jobs. I help them gain confidence through getting their business plan done. All right. All right. Getting closer here. Bilal, can you hear me? Hold on. Let me unmute you here. There we go. How you doing?
Doing well. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. So eager to start their business, lack the clarity, how to progress, makes them afraid to leave their job. So they lack a clarity, or they lack an action plan, right?
Yeah.
Which
so they don't know how to start.
Yep.
So most of the segment have gone through many courses like of business model generation, lean startup, but they don't know how to put things together. Okay. So they know how to do it by the book, but it's like they need to talk to someone. They need to discuss their things. They need to be more confident about their ideas.
Okay. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get that even tighter. Let's think about, I think we can test this as it is. It's pretty strong as it is, but I'm thinking, I help employees who want to start a business.
Yeah.
Overcome their fear by getting clarity and an action plan, and achieve their goals, or whatever the follow-up would be to that. But I think that piece fits. Like, the less words we can do. So I help employees. I'm just trying to think if it rolls off the tongue. I help employees overcome their fear of starting a business.
Yeah.
Through clarity and action plans and masterminds.
Okay. So I help employees overcome their fear of starting their own business, gain clarity and confidence. This is like, okay. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, you can even ditch one of those, right? Because if you hit one or two, it's likely they're going to raise their hands. You can always add the third one if you need to, but the less is more, or
Yeah, so I have to see which is better, like which is more
important. Test it out. I 100% talk to people.
Which is more impactful. Yeah.
And it's got to resonate with them, right? I can't always, like, the problem with teaching this, not as the problem, but the challenge of teaching this is, like, I'm not every one of these niches. So I have to kind of like try to put myself in their shoes to see, like, would I react like, and I don't have that same experience as everybody else. So it's really about let's get as best we can and then bring it to the masses, bring it to the people who are in this niche or would identify this way, and see if it resonates with them.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'm even thinking to even go more niche in terms of, like, and instead of just employees who are looking to start their business, it will be employees who's looking to, for example, start their coaching business. So even employees who are looking to
or
build
maybe a certain caliber of employee, like VP level employees, or
exactly
that kind of thing. Yeah, the more specific you can get, the more that it's likely somebody's going to raise their hand and say, "That's me." That's what you want.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Matthew. So if you're not an expert in a niche and you don't know one, is this basically you're looking for you being facilitator while people looking to help solve their problems themselves by exchanging ideas to each other? Yes, and let's talk about this. So Matthew, there we are. Hello, Matthew. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Matthew. Okay, so yes, and you would be bringing in experts and you would facilitate this. And a facilitator is different than the expert or guru because you're basically just making sure everybody has a great time and you're making sure everybody gets what they need. And you're committed to making sure that the problems are being solved through these experts that you're bringing in, through hot seats, right? There's so many times that people have come into my mastermind and they've talked about their challenge and I've had no concept of where to begin to start it. But I have faith that if I follow the formula, and we'll talk about kind of how this works in the next few days, if I follow the formula, they'll get the result because it's not about you knowing everything. It's about you allowing the group and you yourself asking great questions so that everybody can get really clear on what's actually going on, including the person who has the challenge. And with that clarity, then it becomes simpler to take action or some action that moves you out of that state. Because really, people aren't unresourceful. They just have unresourceful states. People are extremely resourceful. People will overcome anything in a resourceful state. So getting them to that state is a process of getting them clear on what's actually going on so that they can see it, they can get their mind around it, and they can take an action that will get them out of it. So that's part of the way that, you don't have to be an expert. And part of it is like you can bring in experts who have gone through that and crush it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, so you're gonna bring them in later, or you're gonna bring them in like right off the bat?
So I bring them in right off the bat, especially if it's a non-expert mastermind, meaning you're not the expert. I would have a hot seat component. I would have some exercises that people can do, and I would have some experts that they can learn from by having them interact and also present. Yeah. At least those three options, those three elements of a mastermind. There's a lot of other things you could do, but those are really gonna move the most needles for people, if you will.
Oh.
Is that helpful?
Yeah. Well, we'll go over how
Yeah,
to.
we're gonna have a lot more content. Trust me. It's only day 2. We got 3 more big days ahead of us. This is actually the shortest day of content.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, and again, I made it short so that everybody have time to work on this and get this clearer and clearer. And I think I'm just going to share this video because a lot of people are going to have similar questions, and just give people a sense of what it was like in the VIP Q&A. So I think I'm just going to do that. That'll make a lot of sense. I'll just preface it with still stuck, still struggling. Here, watch me break down 10 different people's niche statements, benefit statements, answer some common questions that are coming up. I won't do that every day, but I'll do that for today because it's a little bit of a confusing day otherwise, and I don't want people to get too jacked up with that. All right. Alrighty. So what do we got here? I struggle with the whole concept of what messaging to use. I've surveyed them and learned what they want to be financially independent, and they want a leveled up community where they feel inspired, challenged, and get outside perspective. Their pain is not enough income and work-life balance, loneliness, and boredom with their current communities. How do I test both messages? So I would start any message, especially if you're looking for people to have further conversations with some sort of hook, some sort of story, and then a closing statement or a call to action. We're going to do more about messaging on Saturday, and I'll dive deeper into different types of posts you can use. So definitely be there. This is a bonus thing that we're announcing in a couple days, but cat's out of the bag. We're doing it. So I would absolutely put that on your calendar as well for Saturday at noon. Sorry, at 11 as well. Because testing is a function of knowing what format to use and then putting it out there and seeing what resonates. But I think you're pretty much on there. Like this type of thing that you're talking about is what people most likely resonate with, and you could just tweak it and get better and better over time. knowing that sometimes, guess what? People are eventually, sometimes you're just not going to see your message. You're not going to interact with your message. They're busy, whatever. So that consistency portion is really important too, because you're not going to get everybody every day. It's too noisy out there. Okay. How do you structure those at-home masterminds? What are you doing now during quarantine? The structure of the at-home masterminds, we're going to go over the hot seat formula. That's what I do. It's in my books as well if you want to check it out there. And then what am I doing now during quarantine? We're doing taco nights occasionally, but we're not having online masterminds. I'm sorry, in-person masterminds. We actually did online masterminds where we had 500 people show up in 2 weeks, which was kind of nuts. And it was not fun for me, if I'm being perfectly honest. So I stopped doing it. It was just too much. And especially because I didn't have relationships with any of the people. It was just draining. It wasn't fulfilling for me. So I stopped doing it. I went back to focusing on people who pay me. All right. Okay. 2 camps of successful. I'm doing great. I've done my best and my kids are ungrateful. I'm concerned that my family relations are strained and my legacy is uncertain and I don't know what to do to fix it. Yeah, so that's basically you're taking summarization and notes of what I said. Yeah, I would go out and test that as well. Meaning that second part, especially. I would test that offer with those people and see what they respond to more. And we'll talk more about offers tomorrow and throughout. Okay, cool. We're getting a lot of questions today. So I'm going to start cranking through these a little faster for you guys so we can stay on track because I want to be done by 12:30 if possible, which is what I committed to you to be. But I can say a little bit later if we need to. You just let me know in the comments what you'd prefer. All right. I work with the YPO community in my city. And one of my niches is direct reports, C-suite, the high potential of the company. I help C-suite executives become better leaders so they create higher impact in their lives and their teams. Pretty good. The college students one, I bet you'll have challenges with. There's not a lot of money with college students. So I would maybe focus on the one that these people have a track record of success and they're willing to pay. I would start there. That's probably going to be more easy, more lucrative, and more fun for you. Help single female entrepreneurs stuck in a rut learn how to get back on their A game, which is absolutely and unequivocally their personal best so that they have explosive growth in their business, money, lifestyle, and time freedom. Great. Yeah, I would maybe cut just a buzzword or two. Unfortunately, people, again, small attention spans. Give them the thing that is the most painful thing and the solution. I help employees get the confidence and clarity to create their own business. Okay, cool. And let's leave questions in the question area and let's put comments in the comment area just so this is easier to go through for me. I would be most grateful. So the question is, or do I just use the mastermind to sell group programs instead of so much one-on-one? Yeah, so here's a really great distinction that Lisa brought up. There's one-on-one coaching and consulting, which is very time and energy intensive, and it's kind of an income roller coaster, right? You have to sell and market your services, and then you have to fulfill and deliver on those services, and then you're back to square one, selling and marketing. With a mastermind, it can be a more consistent, stable cash flow vehicle, and it's a lot better to deliver from a time perspective. That's kind of the benefit of why we do masterminds versus group coaching. And it's really not group coaching. Group coaching is like, I'm the guru, and I'm pushing to like solve all your problems and coach you. With mastermind, I'm the facilitator. I step back and I try to, lift everybody else up as a leader, encourage them to share, encourage them to ask questions. And then only when everybody said their piece, do I step in and I add in any questions that I think are still relevant. So if they haven't hit the mark, because like after a while you get really good at this and you'll be able to kind of like, as soon as they start talking about the challenge, you've already got their solution mapped out, you know exactly how you're going to get them there. So it just takes a little bit of patience to let everybody else do that piece and then fill in any gaps at the end. And you can develop that as well. So huge piece. I signed up this morning, so I missed day one. Where's the replay? The replay is in the group. Thanks for signing up. And you can grab that in the Facebook group, as well as if you're VIP, which I presume you are since you're here, you'll have that in your members area when this is all done. We'll get it all in there at the end. Okay, I'm new to my mastermind. I need help on my statement. I help people see beauty in every bad situation by applying a gratitude attitude. That's cool, Sheila. I feel like that's a YouTube video though. Like that's something pretty simple. I would go deeper into who it's for. I would go deeper into, what type of bad situation specifically. I would go deeper into some of the you know, a more, or even more broad, actually, you know, gratitude, attitude, cool. You know, it's catchy. It's a great thing. And I recommend everybody adopt that, but I don't know if I'm like, hey, I want to join that mastermind. It sounds like you just gave away the end result, you know, like, hey, I'm going to teach you about an attitude of gratitude. What if I feel like I already have that? Or, you know, like egotistical people who are like, yeah, well, grateful. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Woo woo hippy dippy BS. Like this just doesn't resonate so much. So like, I'd really drill into like, who is this for? What's the big, hairy, scary challenge that we're overcoming here? And what are some of the experts that you're going to bring in? What are some of the tools you're going to utilize? You know, what are some of your credentials or some of the things that worked for you, in addition to what you already explained there. How many hot seats did I do in my home ones? Typically 10 to 15, depending on how fast they were. They were 8 minutes a piece, hence the name of the book, 8-Minute Mastermind. So typically I would do about 2 hours of hot seats and I would cut it there, and then an hour of networking. So it was a 3-hour thing total, and sometimes a little shorter, sometimes a little longer. But okay, Angie, I help 40 years and older, above, preparing for retirement to avoid acute pain, turn to chronic pain, which limits their mobility, optimize physical health so they can enjoy their retirement years. Getting closer. Yeah, Angie, I would try to like select one of those statements and test it out with people. And then the next statement and the next statement until you get the one that's like really resonating with the most people. Because if it's a run-on sentence, like they're thinking about the first thing and not the second thing and not the third thing, you know, primacy or recency bias. So I would give them one statement, let them opt into that or not. And then you could always remember, this isn't the end of the conversation. This is the beginning of the conversation, right? This 35 word or less benefit statement. This is just to get them to opt in. It's to see if they're interested in hearing more about this. And then you can take the conversation to a story or whatever you need to explain more about what you do. So don't try to pack everything into this one statement. It's too much. Angie, when I bring an expert, do I pay a percentage or commission? No, typically not. And I'll tell you why. Sometimes I do affiliate deals. It just makes sense what they bring to the table. Sometimes I offer them, hey, you're going to get some clients. Sometimes I say, hey, I'm going to, you know, but the real onus and the work is on bringing the audience together. You have to, you know, value that. So the fact that you invited them to come to your mastermind, if they're willing, you know, to throw up a barrier and be like, hey, you know, I really want to get paid for this and all that, you say, listen, hey, you know, this is something I'm just doing here to help people. I'm getting paid for it. Yes, but it's not like a ton of money. You know, there's not like a huge margin here. You know, I'm renting the space, or I'm bringing the people together. I'm paying commissions on salespeople, whatever. And then, you know, you can offer them a stipend or something like that. But typically, if they're virtual and they're not traveling, I wouldn't really be offering a big commission or anything like that. It just doesn't make any sense. There's plenty of experts that would speak for free, and it's a lot easier to sell that typically now in the time of COVID, where you don't have to fly them in, you don't have to put them up. You know, there's nothing like that. But if you are bringing in somebody who's, you know, really legit and you want to do that in a personal one-on-one setting, you could absolutely offer to cover their flight, their hotel. If they have a speaker fee, you maybe ask them to waive it in exchange for they can pitch something that they want to pitch at the mastermind. Would be a way to go. But typically, you don't need to be paying out of pocket for a lot of these. That's a question I get pretty often. There's plenty of experts out there who know things, and it's not difficult to find them. All right. What do you think about evergreen ads for inviting people to apply to a mastermind? I've moved to the one rolling enrollment model. So I think Facebook ads are a great tool. I think that a cold person off of Facebook who's never heard of you before, there's no way they're doing that. There needs to be a little bit more of a funnel. I find what works best, that's simple to start out with, is a clear post that tells people to book a 15-minute call if this is for them. And it can just be an extension of what we're building here with the messaging of, you know, this is who we help, do what problems they have, and how we do it. Jump on a 15-minute call to see if this would be a good fit for you. From those, you take them to a 45-minute call, and you know, this is not a sales training. There's a lot to this, but we train all of this in the BAM Fam, like everything from start to finish. So if that's something that you want to do after this challenge, we could talk about that. But generally speaking, I wouldn't start with ads, because you need more of something like, you know, more pieces in place to make that happen. If you have all that and you have a funnel that's proven and tested with organic traffic, you've gotten some people go through it, it's working, then I might consider spending on ads. I don't like when people start with ads, because they tend to lose money and not get results and want to give up and quit. When you're doing it with just time, it's a little bit, you know, more easy to track everything that you're doing, what's working, what isn't. And if you can do it right once, you can do it right twice, 3 times, 5 times, and eventually have ads cranking all the time and different offers and meeting people where they're at on the the stair step model, right? Start out with free, offer maybe a book or something cheap, then some low ticket courses, some mid ticket type stuff, conversations, phone calls, ultimately high ticket, which is your mastermind. Going straight from zero to mastermind probably not going to work very well. But that being said, you can retarget people who have been in your community for a little while or on your list with, here's the next step, apply to join our mastermind. That would work. I would wait until they know, like, and trust you a little more than cold, though. Okay, hopefully that's helpful. Benefit statement for one of my business masterminds. So I help 6-figure entrepreneurs to get to 7 figures through increasing their income, impact, infrastructure, investment. Or I could get even tighter on that. I help 6-figure entrepreneurs who want to get to 7 figures by focusing on their infrastructure, by focusing on leadership, and by focusing on teamwork in my mastermind. You ask the expert who comes in for free not to pitch. I generally don't bring it up unless they say something, right? It doesn't matter if they pitch or not to me, honestly, as long as there's a clear agreement beforehand, whether or not we're going to, because I already spend all the time and money to put the room together. If they're going to pitch something, I just want to make sure I'm going to get a piece of it. That's all I care about, right? So if there's a sale that's made, I get paid on that. If somebody ends up working with one of those experts, I get paid. That's how it typically works. And since your next question is probably going to be how much, 50-50 on any digital products and 25% on any time-based product. So like another mastermind, a coaching thing, if they're going to work with that person and actually spend their time, I would say 25%. Okay. I think we got all the questions. Let me look through the comments. My voice is getting a little tired, so. Is there a reason you didn't mention health masterminds for patients and practitioners? So I've never run a health mastermind, so I don't have as many examples and case studies of that personally. I've had health components in some of my longer masterminds, like the one we did in Bali, for example, had some health components. We did some really cool, like, meditation and going to the water temple and massage and things like that were all available. So they can be a component of a larger thing. But if you're going to focus just on health, there would be more, I'm sure there's better examples than the ones I have off the top of my head. I know, for example, Abundance 360 does a lot on health and emerging tech and health. A lot of, I'm just going to be real with you guys. Like, I would say 70-80% of masterminds out there are business focused. And then the rest are probably a mix between relationships and health. So there's just not as many examples that I can hear off the top of my head. But if I think of some more, I'll send you some. That are more health focused. And a lot of health gurus, or people in the wealth, they might do multiple things. They have a health component and they have a mastermind and they talk about health, or they have a health part, like Tony Robbins' Life Mastery, for example. And if you join the class, you get to go to Life Mastery, but you also, have all these different components and programs that he's put together. So as part of a larger system, it can work. I just know that most mastermind groups are health, are usually wealth focused. Yeah, Angie. So I like that it's okay. 40 years old and above, knowing who those people are, great. By optimizing your health, I don't know that one naturally leads to the other. To enjoy the best part of their life, cool. So this is going to be more of a health thing, So like that kind of person would probably hire a trainer. Normally, they would probably hire a health coach. They could theoretically want to join a mastermind, but they may or may not. Like, it might be a little more education in order to do that. And here's the other thing that I might have forgotten to mention. Like, you don't have to call it a mastermind all the time. You can run it like a mastermind and call it something else. Like, for example, what ends up happening a lot is people in the corporate world, they want to start a mastermind for people in the corporate America, but corporate America doesn't call it that. They call it a workshop, a training, some sort of ongoing education, continuing education. So you can call it that, whatever they're willing to buy, right? Because you got to kind of know your market and what they're already buying, and then run it more like a mastermind, which we're going to teach you how to do on day 5. So that's not so much effort on your part, and they get really good value. And you bring in the right experts and whatnot. So, you know, for something like this, I might say something to the effect of, I run, you know, a group workshop, or I run a group transformational process, or I run a group, could be group coaching, although I wouldn't necessarily bill it as that. Yeah, there's just, you'd have to test it out for that market and see what they really respond to or reply to. And then make sure that, you know, whatever messaging you choose, it resonates with those people. Power circle, that's a good one. Power circle could be it. Okay, I think that's all the questions I've got for you guys, from you guys today. We're about 5 minutes out to 12:30 here. I'd love to answer any other questions if you guys have them, real quick. And if not, we'll end up for the day. And then I'm going to go ahead and just pop this onto the group for today, because I feel like a lot of people are going to need a little extra love on this particular topic. So give them a little sense of what it's like to be back here with us. I hope you guys have gotten a lot out of this. If you're watching the replay, hit #replay. And if you are still having questions afterwards, we'll do our best to help you out. Again, there's a lot of people in this challenge, so we would highly recommend working with your accountability buddy, working with some other people. Give in order to receive, right? So help some people get clear, and you'll have people wanting to help you get clear in return. If you're not quite getting what you need, just ask people, and they'll, you know, ask people how you can help them, and they'll be more likely to want to help you. This is the law of reciprocity. It's a very influential piece of being a human. So use it, love it, live it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to get into your offer, which I'm really excited about. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Oh, can you answer my question? Bill, did I miss your question? Oh, here we go. All right. How does my benefit statement sound to you? I help new. How does it sound to me? What we should be asking is, how does your benefit statement sound to them? Right? I help business leaders, new business leaders who want to improve their leadership skills through an expert inner circle mastermind using ancient principles. Would that be a benefit to you? Test it out. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's unclear. They might say, what are these ancient principles? And then that's, you know, a statement of interest. If they go, oh, cool. Yeah, I'm a realtor. Not your person. Does that make sense, Bill? Sorry, I missed it earlier. I would test it out is the short answer. See if people respond to it. If not, make some changes. All righty. That's it for today, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow.